You actually worked 10 years on this book about the musician and the band leader Xavier Cugat. Why did this character fascinate you so much that you decided to dedicate so much time of your life to write a book about him?
Well, there are different things that got together and make me to know more about him. I would say first thing is that when I was a young boy, and whenever my parents and I came to Barcelona, my father we would pass by the Hotel Ritz where Cugat lived, and my father, to entertain me, would say, "Look, now we'll pass by and you'll see the Rolls Royce of Cugat." He had come back to Barcelona in 1978 after spending more than 70 years in the US.
Yes.
And so he came back and he just brought a ton of violins that he had and some music papers, and then the Rolls Royce, which was a golden Rolls Royce with his name on the plate. So it was very, for a young kid, it was something really, really surprising. It was like a cinema thing for me. So,
of course.
So that was like the first imagine that it came to mind when someone asks me, why did you write about him? Then, of course, it came the reading of his autobiography that he published when he was 80 already. It's called Xavier Cugat. Very, very simple, but also very strict. And so, yeah, and I read the biography and autobiography, and I thought, wow, what an interesting life. I would like to write about him more in a literary manner. And also, I had spent long time in New York, and I thought it would be great to write something that takes place in New York, to take characters and put them in the streets of the city in Manhattan and tell about them.
Cugat doesn't speak about himself in the book. The person who does it, the main narrator is a journalist, an aging journalist who follows him and meets him through the decades. So why did you decide to go for this format, and what advantages did it bring you?
Well, first I wanted to write it more like close to Cugat, even like himself would talk about his own life. But when I started researching about his life, I found that he had made up lots of things. Parts of his biography were false, some others were exaggerated, and I thought, okay, he's already somehow writing his own novel, so I have to write it differently. And I thought that after giving it a little time of thinking, I thought that perhaps the journalist that is close to him, like he's a bit older, but he follows him all his life, and because he's such a close also friend sometimes, and because he's a journalist and he has a right to tell about what happens, but also a different vision, more informative, could help me to show the reader both parts, the real part and also the inventive part.
Okay.
And in a way, this was also very interesting for the reader to understand that part of our lives is also an invention. We think we are very easily situated in life, but then we realize that when you think about it, that a lot of our time is devoted to thinking about other things which are not so present. So it's more like fictionalized, and hopes and illusions and expectations, but also envy, other people, jealousies, all this which you cannot touch it. It's not a practical thing, but it takes part in our lives.